We started.
Nope.
I've got live in the corner.
Which
I've
is
got
going.
live.
Which corner?
In the hangout corner.
I've got Twitch coming to you. Chat room. Can you hear us and see us? I can't see anything.
No. Apparently we're live and people are watching.
Here we go.
There will be a
YouTube
delay,
does
obviously.
come soon. So
True.
are we on?
I'm not sure.
How
No, Rory.
professional are we?
Oh,
Yeah. No, Rory. Just said we're on, so we may want to start doing the talking stuff. We're on.
We're on.
chat room. Yes, they can hear us.
Just start.
Brilliant. Cool. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in to the first one. So, just to give you a bit of background, so my name's Tim, and today we're going to be hosting the first ever Game Debate live podcast. Is everyone looking forward to it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Didn't know
Of
if you
course,
started
of
to
course.
chat.
So as you can see today, I'm sort of joined by a couple of other sort of interesting people. And before we sort of go into the full podcast and saying what we're going to do, I just want to give you a bit of an overview about why we started this and sort of what the point of it really is as well. So a couple of months ago, I got in touch with Felix, who is sort of one of the main guys at Game Debate for setting everything up and making everything work. And I ended up writing a few reviews and sort of hanging around in the chat rooms a bit and looking at the community. And from that, we really wanted to go and do something which could sort of, engage people more and just sort of have more engagement and have, a more like solid times to talk and just get everyone involved, really. So I come from a background at the moment where I work sort of in the games industry, and each week we're going to have sort of game developers, artists, just people who play games, talking about sort of the latest hardware news, the latest gaming news. And luckily as well, we're also going to be giving away some really cool prizes each week. We have 3 things to give away this week. So if you just sort of keep listening and stay on, you'll hopefully get the chance to win something cool. So the schedule for the podcast now, for the next 4 weeks, every Saturday at this time, we're going to be doing a 2-hour live stream. And if you can't make it, don't worry. We're going to be releasing everything as a podcast. And we're also going to be putting everything on the YouTube channel as well as sort of separate videos, so people can sort of look and pick sort of the best bits or the stuff they want to hear about. Do forgive us for any technical issues because this is our first time doing a live broadcast. It might be a bit bumpy. As well, we've got game developers talking, so they're not really used to talking to real people, I think. They are sat in front of a computer, so I guess that's what you're used to mainly. But so if they do get stumbled, don't worry, just hear them out. I'm sure they'll get to their point eventually. And I guess for everyone who's not particularly aware of what Game Debate is and has just sort of popped in, so Game Debate is one of the best sort of gaming communities online at the moment. It's all about PC gaming and hardware specs. If you sign up to the site, you can upload your PC and see all across the board sort of what games you can play. You can sync your Steam account to it. You can see how you can play your Steam games, how you can play your friends' Steam games. And there's also the Chrome extension which you can install, and you can see whether you can play any game that you're reading about, which is a lot better than Can I Run It and all that kind of stuff. But before we get into it, I think it would probably be worth introducing our co-presenters today. So who wants to go first? Should we go for Jack first?
Let's go for the least qualified first. No, my name's Jack Waugh. I've been a gamer since I was old enough to walk. I am just a consumer. That's the way I see it. I'm here to offer that kind of viewpoint of someone who's just here to buy and play games. I don't have any bias or anything to any brand or anyone in particular. I love all games. I play a lot of League of Legends, though mainly that's sort of my core of my gaming experience these days.
Cool. And so Jack, obviously with each person we can see sort of your PC spec below you. What point did you get this PC? When did you start PC gaming? What made you get into it in the first place?
Well, I had some family tragedy a couple of years ago, and I just come out of graduated from university, and I got a large inheritance, and I thought, a lot of people want to go on and go exploring and find their life and stuff after that sort of thing. But I love gaming, and I've always wanted to play gaming at the top end, but never really had the means to be able to support that. So I put that towards this PC with the idea of being able to experience these games. That was about a year ago, and I just basically went for as much as I could spend without buying parts for games that I wouldn't run. The really, really high-end tech demo sort of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, the 970 is pretty nice. I think looking at it, at everyone's spec, I think I do have the lowest spec computer.
Yeah, you do.
Out of everyone, which is kind of annoying. I didn't think it'd be that going into it, but So alongside Jack, we also have Rob with us. Now, before we go any further, I should mention that Rob and Tom do both work for the same game development company that I work for. Rob is a game developer there. Do you want to give us a bit of an intro?
Game developer with work in the same place with Tim, which you forgot to mention. But just let it go. I've just been recently graduated last year and started working with the company in November, and just still making my own games when I can outside of work as well. Currently really into the pixel scene, so trying to get some 2D retro style games on the go outside of work. So that's my current interest and activities.
So why do you think you got into PC gaming, and how long would you class yourself as like a proper PC gamer?
I was brought up as a PC gamer. When I was younger, that's all my dad really had, is different sort of starting off with Ataris and stuff, moving on then to some actual PCs when they started making some nice games on those systems. So I've just got used to it. Just raised on the original Grand Theft Auto games, which is probably a good thing for any child to be raised on. So that's where my gaming experience comes back.
I think everyone can agree. Yeah, I think I played Grand Theft Auto growing up. I'm not sure who did. I don't know if we can even talk about this. Cool. Cheers, Rob. And as well, we also have Tom with us. So Tom is also a game developer. He works for the same company that I do. And Tom also you do a bit of live streaming and stuff as well, don't you?
Yeah, so I obviously work for the same company as Tim and Rob. Just finished my first year there. I do a bit of live streaming when I can, normally of League of Legends, because I play that probably more than any human should. I do also quite enjoy the old style like point-and-click adventure type games, all the puzzle games and stuff like that.
So you probably have. Do you have the highest spec PC, or does Jack win on that? Or
I think I've got the highest RAM.
Mm-hmm.
I have an i5 core as well, so
yeah. I think Jack's got a better graphics card than me. Rob's pretty good mid-ground.
Yeah. I didn't think. Yeah, the one thing I thought now starting to do this, I do maybe need to upgrade at some point soon. Looking especially the games coming out. So yeah, the stuff. So yeah, for today we've got quite a bit of news lined up. We're going to talk about sort of the Star Wars Battlefront coming out and the specifications of that. We've got some news about Fallout. We've also got some to talk about. Prison Architects come out recently. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over sort of the latest sort of big news and just sort of go through them and sort of see what everyone thinks really. And I think it should help us also mainly because we're talking to people who make games and spend their days working on them. There's a lot of insight to be gained potentially from people who work on this stuff day in, day out. And as well, so we also have a competition. So our first competition today is we do have one exclusive copy of Prison Architect, which has just launched this week actually. It came out of beta. It was on early access for about 3 years before it came out. And in order to win that, all you have to do is retweet below. If I can get that right now. There we go. No. Everything. There we go. So yeah, so if you want to retweet GD Live, if you want to send out what you think this podcast should be called. So we're going to release this as a podcast first. We haven't really thought of a title yet. So as a sort of an easy thing, if you could just sort of give us an idea of what you think the title will be, hashtag it, and at the end of the show today, we're going to have a look at them and we're sort of going to decide what one we're going to go with. So before we move on then, has anyone, so Tom, I know you've played a Prison Architect. Do you think at the moment, with early access now, I know it's a bit of a controversy too, because a lot of people, they're not too sure about releasing sort of half-finished games, getting people to pay for stuff through development. We've seen Codemasters who've released one of their new grid games in early access, and you still have to pay about 25, 30 quid for it. Would you say that you think Prison Architect has sort of been really good, or a good example of early access, or sort of like what are your thoughts on that, do you think?
Yeah, I think Prison Architect was a very good example of it. It was good to see how the game developed and how they sort of listened to a lot of the users as well, and sort of tweaked the way the game was working based on what people were saying about it.
Yeah.
And obviously, like the slightly reduced price for the early access does make it a lot better to pick up and watch the development cycle through it.
Yeah, I think there's a bit to be said, because when you are making a game, obviously, like, you know, money is like a big thing, and, you know, games can sort of go on forever. You know, involving the community in like certain games, you know, like Prison Architect, where you're implementing feature by feature, month by month, is sort of a good way to do it. Rob or Jack, did you play Prison Architect at all? Do you have any thoughts?
I didn't personally. I thought £20 was quite a steep price. I knew little about it and looked it up, and obviously understood it was a sim game at its core. And the art style and the minimalism of it kind of put me off for £20. It's the kind of game that I'd see and I've added to my wish list, you know, for a Steam sale, that sort of thing.
I didn't buy it either, but I've purchased a fairly similar. Also, my webcam has died, so yeah. But no, I didn't buy that game. There was one called Starbound, which is still in early access, and that has been really fun playing that. And that was at sort of full price as well. But it's been quite nice just seeing how the game evolves, sort of on a monthly basis when things are patched in and added. It kind of gives you a reason to sort of replay and almost start again sometimes. So I'm not put off by them. It's just Prison Architect didn't really interest me.
I think the main thing for me is I've always sort of been a massive gamer. What's really interests me is like the development cycle of it, and being able to watch like a monthly video of how they're making it. You know, they do bug fixer months where people upvote what bugs they want to see fixed the most and go through that. And you know, it's a really nice, easy way to go into game development. I know Introversion now, I think, have made an absolute ton off getting subscriptions, getting people buying the game now. And yeah, it's good to see it come out of early access. Yeah, I'm not sure how much of it I'm going to play now, because I have played through it quite a few times. I think I put 12, 20 hours into it already. And yeah, so just to let you know, again, we have the competition. So if you want to tweet what you think the name of the podcast would be with hashtag GDLive, and then at the end of it, we'll be giving away a completely free copy of Prison Architect. Cool. So if we get on to the more sort of chunky stories of the week, I guess. So the first one we're going to go through is sort of Star Wars Battlefront. And Star Wars did have like quite a bit of a shock when they released the requirements. So for the minimum system requirements for it, you had to have one of the new Intel i3 chips at sort of like 4.2 gigahertz. You know, and then one of the main issues with it was the first graphics card they said was, I think it's just about as powerful as a PS4. And so if that's your minimum requirement, it sort of suggests that the game itself on console would run less than it would do. It would run basically less than minimum settings on PC on console, which isn't the case, I think. And it means it's probably going to be a really badly optimized game. Has anyone had a chance to play Star Wars yet properly?
Nope.
No.
No.
The thing is, I got really burnt by Battlefield 4. I bought that day one. I used to be a huge fan of Battlefield ever since 2. Battlefield, Bad Company 2 and 3 are some of my most played games ever. And I got Battlefield 4 instantly, bought Premium, you know, one of those suckers, and just the game not working for that amount of money at the start, and the frustration just playing through it. The netcode, as I'm sure people have heard, was so appalling. It was just impossible to play. And you know, when you pay that much money for a AAA shooter, you expect it to feel responsive. You expect it to play well. And I'm concerned that, especially with all the controversy surrounding Hardline, that with Battlefront they've just rushed out another Frostbite engine game without actually considering how they could optimize it or adapt it for the game they're making.
Yeah. Do you think sort of DICE's history is sort of? It's hard to say if it's rushed, really, because it is Star Wars. I think when you watch the videos on YouTube and you see, you know, Luke Skywalker being crushed by a walker, I think was like going viral today. Like it does look really cool. But again, I think the problem is like the gameplay. I think I've heard like people are getting a lot better experience on consoles more than sort of the PC version, which I'm not sure. Do DICE sort of have a history? Because usually they're quite good on PC generally, but yeah, I'm not too sure how that will go.
With the beta that's out at the moment as well for it, I've heard a lot of its saving grace is it is a Star Wars game.
Yeah.
Which is what is leading people to be like, okay, we're sort of wait and see how this is going with the whole thing, rather than completely abandon it or completely going for it. Is that because it's a Star Wars game at heart, people are kind of holding on to it as well?
Yeah. I think one of the things, I think we were looking at it before, there's sort of Admiral Akbar that seems to, like, I think he promotes it. So when you're going through the menus to get his talk, it is like a nostalgia trip. I mean, I love Star Wars. I think if I played it, I probably would enjoy it. I hear as well that the console gamers are actually having a really good time on it, and it's really fun, and they're not getting any issues at all. Again, when Game Debate, so when they did a check of the specs of the game, so obviously with the high specs, we were quite concerned about whether people would actually be able to run it. And once we did that, we found that it does actually run okay. There's a couple of things to account though. The Hoth map and both maps are probably a bit smaller than they'll actually be in the real game, and that'll really be dependent on if we do increase the maps, does the performance just go crazy, and will it be a horrific port? There's also the Endor level is not there in the forest, and there's games like the Rome sort of soldier game that came out a bit ago. When that came out, I know there was quite with the forest level, there was really massive issues with performance in that bit. So depending on the rest of the game and how it goes, we'll see how well it will be, I think.
I think the problem with it is that DICE and EA have burnt out a lot of their franchise players, so a lot of the market is coming from Star Wars. And when I've actually watched a lot of the popular YouTubers who follow a lot of the current FPSs like Jack Frags, for instance, they talk a lot about how there's still quite a tremendous amount of bugs even for a beta, and they feel that some of the polish wasn't there with the game. When Battlefield 3 came out, it had a lot of bugs, but you could feel that overall polish. Like the lighting was incredible, the textures were really nice. A lot of people complaining that this game doesn't look as good as you would expect a flagship Star Wars game to look.
Yeah. So you think the graphics aren't that good, you saying? Sorry.
Well, I just wonder if it's a case of that it's them just rushing out another game without fully optimizing it. Apparently, for instance, Darth Vader's cloak, it's very crazy in the physics of that, and it sort of implies with the base physics aren't operating correctly. Is that like a big problem? Will those bugs carry over into the main game, like with Battlefield 4?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. And it'll be interesting to see what happens sort of as it gets released. And it's coming out on sort of the 6th of October. Will it just be a Battlefield clone with Star Wars ripped all over it and absolutely buggy? Hopefully
it's kind of what it looks like. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll get to see. Yeah, in a couple of months. If you do want to have a go on the beta, do get it, and I think you can download it now through Origin and take a look. I think there's actually going to problem. Origin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to use that?
What is? See, I use Uplay quite a lot of games and stuff, and I don't really see the what's with Origin like. What EA release that I've played, like Mass Effect, is that on Origin?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never really had an issue with it. Probably like what's the main problem? Because I can see because when you're a game developer, I think if you upload a game to Steam, they take a set percentage of every sale you make. So what is if you're a game developer, I think it makes sort of complete sense to release your own platform that you can buy stuff through to bring back more to them. EA, maybe aren't like the nicest, friendliest company people say, but I think bottom line, is it right to criticize companies for just trying to get their own distribution model through than having to rely on things like Steam and stuff like that?
It's a bit unfair on the consumers now, especially since a lot of the big companies, EA, Ubisoft, are all starting to do their own.
Yep.
No one wants like 100 different applications you have to load just to play a game. Steam's had a lot more time, so it's a lot more optimized. It doesn't hog the processing power as much, and running games through it seems just a bit smoother. The interface is nicer to use. It just kind of works, where the others just feel clunky and don't tend to always work. Especially Uplay, I found when I used to try and play multiplayer games on that, it took so long to get games or to get anything working online. It was painful.
Cool. So I have just looked up at the chat for a bit, and I do apologise for missing it. But so GD Live has actually been taken as a hashtag and is quite busy. So instead of that, we're going to go with Game Debate Live now. So if you want to hashtag with your title of the podcast, with Game Debate Live. Sorry for the confusion. I guess, first time, there's always going to be sort of some mistakes with it. So, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so if you have tweeted GD Live, I don't know, can we flick through them? Is there a lot? I haven't actually had a chance to look on Twitter yet. But what we'll do is switch out to Game Debate Live. If you want to retweet now, hopefully you're still here. So we'll change that up. So Jack, I mean, you play a lot of games. You use sort of a lot of clients. Do you think, what sort of your thoughts on Origin and sort of stuff like that? Do you think, do game developers, is it a problem? Is there a problem with the service? Is it like it's not as good as Steam? What's people's issues with it, do you think?
I mean, I understand the idea that Steam takes a percentage and people don't want that to be a monopoly on the market. I completely get that, but I agree with Rob. I fucking hate using all these different programs, and I know it sounds stupid, but some people, like when you're working all day and you come home and you want a game, you load up Origin and it's like forgotten your password, and I've got like an Origin password and a Steam password and website passwords and bank password, and you have to keep them all different for security, and I'm sitting there entering all these passwords, and then it is often a lot more laggy using those programs than Steam. With Steam, the reason I like that is because it's one place I can go and it seems very affordable to me. So as a consumer, I feel no need to use these other platforms, and it is just a direct put off to me. I will outright refuse to get games if I feel that I'm being forced into this, what feels like adware or sometimes.
Yeah.
What if we had like a client for clients? So like you had a Steam where like you go on and you like choose it, because I guess you start a load of different games all the time, so you could like sort of arguably say that just going and selecting a game from a list it's just the same as selecting a client to play a different game, like play PlayStation, Xbox. Is that just do you think that's a valid point?
I think it's definitely a viable option, but the problem is that it's adoption, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess if you had to download like Origin to play Mass Effect now, do you think that actually does turn people off, or people just sort of do it and sort of get on with it?
I can't imagine they've lost like millions of users, but I mean, from a personal experience, I didn't buy Mass Effect 3 because I had 1 and 2 on Steam, and then they had some petty fallout with each other, and then 3 was segregated to Origin, and I'm not going to download that just to play one game. So
I think
I've had Origin since sort of around near where it launched, and it has gotten a lot better than what it was when it first launched.
Yeah,
that's true.
But it's like Steam has had years and years now to perfect its formula, perfect its user experience, and the way it handles everything. And it's just the one that everyone finds most convenient, or most people find the most convenient. And I can see where having all these different launchers, like the Uplay launcher, the Origin launcher, the Steam launcher, just having all your games in several different places just isn't the most convenient for the user.
I think one of the things, you see, I love Uplay because I played all the Assassin's Creed, I love Splinter Cell, I love Far Cry, and I think they updated it a couple of months ago, and it's just so easy to use. I mean, one of my issues with it was that I'd buy a game on Steam, and then I'd download it through Steam, and then it wouldn't let me play it unless I went back into Uplay and then downloaded the game through Uplay and used that, because once it's activated on Uplay, I couldn't then re-download it and play it through Steam, which is sort of really weird to me. I mean, that's sort of one of the issues. But I just think it's people whining about having to load a different thing just before they want to play a game, and I don't think it really matters too much at all.
But then I guess with like Uplay, most of Ubisoft's games, in fact I think all of Ubisoft's games are also available on Steam. Yeah. So that's down to the user there whether they want to have it directly with Uplay, or if they want to buy it within Steam and just sort of log into their Uplay account. Well, I think the thing with Origin nowadays is their games, I might be wrong here, but I don't believe are actually available on Steam.
No.
So you kind of give the user no choice but to use Origin at that point.
So I'm just looking at the chat room now. I think a couple of people said, so I think the general consensus seems to be, people do like Uplay. Uplay is pretty good. Some people think it's the worst one they've ever touched. From Christian there. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think it's a real issue. I think, it's like when people sort of complain about using operating systems when they just like flip between applications a lot of the time. So like people say they hate Windows 10 or they hate.
I love the person who's mentioned Game for Windows Live and that Uplay plays better than that. Can't let people forget.
I mean, that's true.
Live. I've just seen as well, someone's gone, Uplay is much better since the recent update. And yes, I will definitely give it that. The more recent updates over the last probably 6 months, 7 months has made it a lot better than it used to be a couple of years back. I remember trying to install, I think it was Settlers 7 when that first came out on Uplay, and it was the most horrendous thing that I've ever had to do. And then more recently, it's gotten a bit better, but it's just, from my opinion, it's quite nice to have everything in one place.
Yeah.
That's definitely preferable.
I think if the game runs and it all works, then everything is quite generally quite fine. I don't think there's I don't really care, to be honest, if I have to launch something else before playing it. If it's, I think the problem with Windows Live games was that when I try and launch Street Fighter 4 now, it won't actually let me play. It won't, I can't. It locks me out the game because I don't remember my live password, and I just don't play Street Fighter 4 now because I don't know my live password. I think, look, Chrissy just said as well there. People, the problems with support. I know a lot of people, if you look at the forums, people whine about Steam support all the time, and people seem to quite like Uplay support. Have any of you had to sort of deal with Steam support at all or anything?
No, not myself. I think the only support I've had to deal with is Origin's support when I got locked out of my Star Wars account, which was an utter nightmare.
Is that the Old Republic you played?
Yeah, the Old Republic. Because I had to go through Origin to then go through Star Wars to then go back through Origin to unlock my account.
I always love playing MMOs and sort of the day they come out because there's always something at you. Guild Wars.
Launch day.
Guild Wars 2 didn't let me log in for a while, I think, when I first started there. No, Guild Wars 2, you couldn't buy it online. You couldn't download it anywhere. It wouldn't let me buy the game when I tried to get it for some reason. But yeah, launch day MMOs, that's definitely, I guess you expect the bugs, don't you? And it's always a bit of fun. So, moving on, I guess, I guess the next sort of big thing at the moment is Far Cry 4, which you've got coming out fairly soon. Are everyone fans of Far Cry 3? Did everyone play it? Everyone enjoy it? Does anyone play New Vegas at all? So,
Far Cry 4 is out.
Not Far Cry.
Do you mean Fallout? Is that the one you're on about?
I've been playing Far Cry 4 quite a bit. Yeah, Fallout. I've got Fallout and Far Cry in front of me as well. It's coming out soon. But yeah, Fallout 4 coming out. I think the engine for Fallout 4 they're going to be using is the same as Skyrim, but it's going to be a bit polished. The graphics are going to be a bit more practical for it rather than super fancy. So we're not going to see something like Star Wars where it's just going to be really nicely polished. Do you think? So I guess if you go to sort of Jack first, do you think with Fallout 4, do you think there's going to be sort of enough changes what they can do? Do you think there's going to, what do you think they can change up about Fallout 3, and what do you think with maybe some of the flaws from sort of the previous games that they could maybe improve upon from then?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the previous games. I came on the Fallout bandwagon after 3, so I had no idea of like what came before and no attachment to that. And I loved the 3D games. New Vegas, especially, to me, was amazing. The way it was such a detailed world. Like even the side quests, I didn't feel like I was just killing X and gathering X. I was actually exploring these places where people had lived and died and seeing these stories. And I really enjoyed the way it was a very fluid game. You weren't shoehorned into a campaign line. You sort of moved across the wasteland at your own speed. So I just really hope they keep that alive, that feeling of choice of being able to be with this faction or that faction. Do I want to be a good guy or do I want to be an arsehole? Or both, depending on the mood. And the one thing I'm concerned about is that, to me, Skyrim was a huge letdown. I thought that compared to Oblivion, it was a very bland game. Like, it looked nicer. All the mods were amazing. But it just felt so repetitive. It felt go to this dungeon, kill Draugr, leave dungeon, get item makes you +1 to something, and it just felt like that over and over again. And I thought the storyline was just wank. Like dragons, like how many times do I have to save the fucking world from dragons? I don't care anymore.
I guess. What do you think? So what does Fallout do differently to Skyrim? Because to me, I don't know. I guess they're quite similar in sort of what they offer and the type of stuff you do.
I think especially at the moment, people really appreciate the sort of post-apocalyptic setting. Maybe quite close to heart to what we're about to do to ourselves. But I think that sort of thing people really grasp at the moment. Whereas, like what Jack was just saying, is that if you don't like killing dragons, then you don't want to play Dragon Age. You probably don't want to play Oblivion or Skyrim anymore. You don't want to play the other 100 games that are doing it. Whereas Fallout is still fairly unique in what it offers in the gameplay style and in the setting that it's in.
I guess it is unique. I was trying to think then if there is anything sort of like Fallout, and I guess apart from Skyrim,
it started inspiring other games like it, but they're more survival games. Whereas Fallout still manages to keep the RPG kind of action feel going as well.
Yeah. Did anyone play sorry? So Tom, did you have any thoughts on sort of Fallout 3, Fallout 4 coming out?
See, I'm gonna be the one that goes against it because I've never been a massive fan of them. I will be honest. I always find like I can never from Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and the Skyrims. I've tried to play them all, and every single one of them I've always found myself putting down.
Why?
I always end up like buying them on the day they come out, playing them for like the entire day, putting it down and going, I've achieved nothing. And I know, like, I can go
That's your
like,
fault,
I know
Tom.
loads of people. Yeah, I know it probably is. I probably spend too much time running around in a circle and like going, oh, what's in this little corner over here? Oh, nothing. Which is probably why I end up going like, oh no, because it's just like your objectives are here. I'm like, no, I'm going the other way. I'm going over there. So yeah, I mean, I keep trying to get into them, and I keep enjoying them for like 5 or 6 hours, and then not being able to continue it once I've sort of gone, okay, we'll stop this for the day. We'll go do something else, go get dinner or whatnot, and then come back to it tomorrow or a couple of days' time. I just always find myself never coming back to it.
So I'm quite interested to hear with the chat as well. So did any of you guys play Fallout Shelter as well for a bit? Because I know I played it quite a bit. I got a bit repetitive at points.
Like that one I'm sold on.
Yeah,
I've played it since it came out on Android, and I still play it and check it about 5 or 6 times a day.
That game was a burning simulator for me. Everything I did resulted in a building burning down and people just failing in what I told them to do.
That's because you were put in charge of human lives.
It was like, you have a 5% chance this room will burn if you do this action. 5% sounds fine. Your room's burning. Oh, okay. It was just that every single time I told them to build or do something. It's just, yeah. I wasn't a fan.
No, Jack, do you get into mobile games? Do you play any Fallout Shelter at all?
I do. When Fallout Shelter originally came out, it was only on the iPhone, and they sort of just said to Android, oh, maybe. So all my friends played it through and were showing me it and stuff, so I feel like I saw the whole game without ever actually playing it myself. And then it came out on Android, I don't know, it was months later. And I just kind of lost the appeal to me. I'm not huge into mobile gaming outside random games that really take my fancy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it just felt too much like, Tiny Tower and these like other games that are out there that I think are really similar in gameplay.
I think Josh Martin, sort of in the chat, has sort of put it exactly the same thing I had with it. Was that, well, not all of us, but when you play for once or you play for a bit, and the game doesn't really change. So after you played for a day, you've like built a gym, you've built another power station, you're making more. And I think one of the big criticisms of it, that it doesn't change from on your day one to when you have 100, 200 dwellers, and you're trying to just sort of keep everyone alive and keep it going. I got too easy as well, I think. I took it really, really slow to get everything, because the first time I did it, everyone just died right away because we ran out of food and stuff. But yeah, it was alright, I think. It's an interesting I think everyone's trying freemium at the moment. I know one guy who came up to me and said that they had a sale on the lunchboxes, and he spent 30 quid or 30 pounds just on like Fallout Shelter stuff, which is quite a lot, I think. I don't know if I'd pay 30 quid for a mobile game. I guess if you feel like you get your money's worth.
Yeah. So the thing is that I do quite like games like that where it's like 5 to 10 minutes tops interaction, where because it's just like on like the bus to work or bus wherever you go, or just load it up, do a couple of things for 5 minutes, kills 5-10 minutes of your journey. You don't have to then worry about it for 12 hours longer. Pick it up on your way home, do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably spend no more than 5 to 10 minutes every day, every couple of days on it, but it's just one of those little things to see how it, obviously until a Deathclaw attack comes and my entire city's wiped out, but...
Once the Deathclaw update did come out, a lot of my friends did stop playing the game because one Deathclaw attack. Because the thing was that none of the other things that came in used elevators or lifts at all. And once they came in, they would just go straight down past all my sort of defense level and just rip everything apart. I know people that just completely lost it, I think. That was a ruthless patch, I think.
That's the Fallout universe, though. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think they should ruin everyone's shelter just before Fallout 4 comes out. So they all have to be like, oh, well.
There was some sort of like push notification in one of the Fallouts or something. I can't remember the exact details, but essentially it said in New Vegas, oh, if you want to get to the main storyline really quickly, go through this little valley here. It's the easiest and fastest way to go there. And if anyone's played the New Vegas here, they'll remember that valley near the starting area is actually filled with our matey Deathclaws. So you get people who've never played the games before just going, oh, what's down here? And insta-killed. And that's the Fallout way.
Yeah.
The ruthless future that we all will hopefully not be part of when when the world ends, when we all seem to nuke each other. Hopefully not. So I guess from Fallout, if we go, sort of across now to what I was trying to not say before, which is Far Cry. So Far Cry, for announcing Far Cry Primal, they did a live stream where they held it for 24 hours, just sort of looking at some cave paintings for a bit. And they slowly zoomed out and slowly saw more. And then they've released a trailer for Far Cry 4, which is going to be based, it looks like Neanderthal cavemen time. So Tom, have you played some of the other Far Cry games? Would you say you're a fan at all?
Yes, I do really like the Far Cry games. 2 I can never get into, but 1, 3, and 4 and the mod for 3, which the name escapes me at the moment, which is really bad.
Blood Dragon, was it?
Blood Dragon.
Yeah.
I really love playing all them. I've wasted way too much time playing them, but they were great games.
I think they're just really simple for me. I think Far Cry 3, it's just the story in it was so great, or going through it. And Rob actually ruined Far Cry 4 for me by telling me the ending. When I just
I didn't tell you the ending.
You did basically tell me the
secret ending that you would never have found if I didn't mention it to you.
But you told me like the dramatic plot point at the end. I don't really want. Has everyone played Far Cry 4?
Some.
We're just ruining it for everyone else.
The spoilers here.
Yeah, I think people are saying Blood Dragon was really cool. I mean, to take like a different take on a game and then just to put it through. I mean, Far Cry does sort of fit that like crazy stuff. I do love the fact that you can like customize your guns and put little like funny paint jobs on them. And it's a nice, for me, Far Cry 4 was a nice getaway from like Metal Gear Solid 5, which came out, where I had to like sneak around and do everything. I just want to go in and shoot and kill everyone whenever I'm thinking I'm playing these kind of games. That's why I'm so bad at Metal Gear, I think, because I just can't play them properly as they are.
You just lack the stealth aspect of it.
I hate it. I just want to destroy everything. I don't really care. I just want to blow stuff up. Do you play many shooters, Jack? Is this your type of game, do you think?
I love shooters. I've honestly hated Far Cry since 2. I really want to get on with it because all my friends love it. I get a huge positive reaction from everyone I speak to about it. But Far Cry 2, it was outpost, kill guys, open boxes, yay, get more money for more bullets, and then do that again. and again, and the stealth never clicked with me in Far Cry. And the opposite to you, Tim, I fucking love stealth games. I love Splinter Cell. I'm loving Metal Gear Solid 5. And I used to get really frustrated with the way that if one guy saw me, everyone else just magically knew exactly where I was. And I don't know, I just found myself getting really bored with the whole, go to a tower, find the area, all these random stuff. I never really enjoyed it. Like Just Cause 2 to me is like the perfect sandbox game. It was fun, like the mechanics are enough for you. Whereas I feel like, to me, Far Cry just feels like yet another shooter.
I guess there is the Ubisoft model now where you've got Assassin's Creed where you climb towers and look at stuff. You've got like Far Cry, which is basically Assassin's Creed with guns, arguably. I think it is a bit. I love both games, to be honest. And I don't know. I think with Far Cry and Assassin's Creed now, it's got to the point where you just completely know what you're getting with each game. And I don't know why. I don't know how they've done it, but I've played almost every Assassin's Creed game coming out. I mean, the difference between Black Flag and Rogue was nothing apart from the story, I think, and there's maybe a few different upgrades. Like they don't. It's almost like Ubisoft has sort of given up now in trying to become what Nintendo were, or what Nintendo are a bit as well now, where they're not really trying to push the boat out. They sort of know what works, and I think it'd be better, if you want to take sort of more risks, maybe do some more IPs. And Assassin's Creed came out for the first time. That was something sort of revolutionary new. And I don't know whether innovation is like stifled now in sort of the AAA market, but we definitely aren't seeing. I don't think we're seeing as much innovation from the big players as we are, at all from sort of the indie scene. I mean, Rob, I know you play quite a few sort of indie games. Do you think there's sort of less innovation now from the big publishers? And what, is there some that are pushing?
I imagine they still have the innovation, but I think they're doing what Nintendo do, and they're playing it safe. If they know that millions of people now enjoy having a map and a tower, and they like climbing the tower and then jumping off the tower, and that makes their fans happy, then they're going to keep doing that every game, because they're only losing a few people who go, this is the same boring game as last time, whereas they're still keeping those millions of people going, I love towers. So it's just going to keep happening. But yeah, I love playing indie games because they're all just so different. Every indie developer has a different idea of perfection in mind, and then they create that, they go wild with it, and you get platformers like Limbo, and then platformers like Vector 2, where they're just so different to each other, and they offer so many different gameplay elements and features. I find them far more interesting now.
It's interesting because it's almost like a lot of these big games have got so complex, and with all this, with all the, if you think of the amount of balancing that has to go into this stuff, is it got to the point where they're so complex that it's, it could potentially be a lot more difficult to innovate and to do things. I think
it'd be a lot more dangerous.
Yeah.
That's probably where the problem is. Not that it's difficult, it's dangerous. Because if they've got people like you, Tim, who enjoy Assassin's Creed still, and they start changing Assassin's Creed, then they'll upset you and start getting death threats and stuff, and that's sad. So they just won't do it.
I played Mad Max recently, and that is just like Assassin. It's the Ubisoft format. It's exactly the same. You just level up your car, you collect towers, you destroy bases. In a way, though, let's be fair, Metal Gear Solid 5 is just that as well.
But the bases become more complex as you go through the game, and the ways in which you can play the game. Because you said you want to run in and shoot everyone, and if you want to, Metal Gear Solid, you can do that. Like, I've just unlocked a rocket launcher, which absolutely devastates people. I can go in with like non-lethal shotguns or sniper rifles that are lethal. You can do whatever you want, and it really feels like you're actually a part of that world. Like, I choose my loadout, I drop in, I like look at the camp, I'm like, what's going on down there? I get to the camp and there's all these hidden thoroughfares through it, hidden pathways, little tunnels, and you just don't really get that. Like in Mad Max, there's like one little yellow painted crack in a wall that you can sneak through to get past the base defenses, which were half of the fun of that section anyway, was driving around and smashing those towers. And it just felt really disingenuous. Like, I could tell, this is, the walls of the base. Whereas in Metal Gear Solid, it's just like, the road goes up this way because that's the way through the outpost, and then the base starts here, and there's a bridge and some buildings underneath that, and an actual base inside of it. I mean, I get that it's still doing the same thing over and over. I just think that there's more choice in how to do those things, and that makes it feel more exciting.
I think with Metal Gear Solid 5, obviously there's the departure of was it Hideo, who designing the game sort of halfway through, and there was some sort of falling out there. And for me, with Metal Gear Solid, it was almost like, there's no story to go. I think maybe I didn't get too far in. I think I'm on about mission 10 or 11 now. But there really seems to be sort of a lack of story at this point where I am. I've done like 4 or 5 missions where I just feel I have no context of what I'm doing. I find it really hard to sort of get involved in a bit.
I think the problem is that it's such a huge game, and no one, like, I had no idea. When I started playing it, I got to mission 10 and I thought, yeah, I'm making some decent progress, and I asked one of my friends and he said, oh, there's about 50 missions, and I thought, oh, okay. And as I got past, so when I got to that, about 10 missions in, I'd spent about 30-40 hours already, and there was no story. You're right, it is really disjointed. It's just kind of, oh, let's go to this place and take this guy away because he's really good. But then you get on and it does start bringing in all the plot lines that are being followed from Metal Gear Solid 3, Ground Zeroes, and Peace Walker. And obviously that's another problem with the series, is it is so complex, so you may have just been lost because you haven't followed all of this nonsense that's followed before.
I read that you do have to like pick up their cassette tapes and listen to them together. Looking at the chat room now, actually, I think there is quite a mixed response to Metal Gear Solid 5. Some people not really enjoying it. In fact, I think most people aren't really enjoying it according to our chat here.
I have seen a lot of negatives, yeah.
I mean, I can understand.
See, I'm a massive fan of Metal Gear 5 and, well, the Metal Gear series in general, but I can see how it is one of those games that you kind of need to know. You probably couldn't pick up 5 and make sense of the story if you've not played the rest. You kind of need the games to sort of have a bit of a disjointed timeline anyway, as in like 5 is before 1 and 2, I believe, which 3 is before that, and
then 4's at the end of all of that.
Yeah, 4's at the end of all. So there's this very disjointed timeline, and if you don't sort of have played the other ones, you kind of can't make sense of some of the events that are happening because they are linked with stuff that is previously happening, or you can kind of go, that's kind of leading to that event later on, and sort of peg it together yourself. I think if you do just pick up 5 and look at it, it can be a very confusing story to just go, this makes perfect sense, let's go with it.
I think Shadowblitz just said in the chat, so Metal Gear Solid has about 30 missions a chapter. Is that right? Is there that many? How many missions are there in Metal Gear Solid? I haven't got anywhere near through it yet, I think.
I'm on 26 or 27 at the moment, and I've been told I'm about halfway through the main game, and then there's like 170 side missions as well.
Wow. So I think this leads on quite well to sort of the next thing we're going to talk about. With, at the moment there's a lot of controversy, a lot of people getting annoyed about microtransactions in games. The notable from this week was that Metal Gear Solid are going to introduce sort of insurance on their base. So I haven't built up my base that much. I'm not that far through it, but I guess Jack, because you played quite through it. I mean, how does this insurance work? Do you think this is sort of like a big thing for gameplay? What's your impression of it?
Okay, well, essentially in Metal Gear Solid 5, there is this base building aspect to it where you develop oil rig platforms for your private military company, and then the multiplayer aspect is you build a separate one, which is like it's called your FOB, Forward Operating Base, and then you start collecting the soldiers that you've fallen out in the game and the weapon emplacements and whatever. They go to that base and they man it, and then other players come in sort of Dark Souls, Demon Souls style, and invade your game, and then have to steal something or destroy something, and they can steal your people, they can steal your stuff. So obviously people can come in who are really good and make a massive detriment to your advancement. So the microtransactions are there, putting insurance on everything that you collect except for, was it staff, nukes?
Was it armed guards or something?
Yeah, which is surprising to me, because I would imagine that the staff are the element that people would be most worried about losing.
What do you think this impact has sort of anything on the greater game at all, or on the way you play it, or is it just like a pointless feature they put in simply just to make a bit of side cash?
I can see where it gets annoying, because if you spend 7 or 8 hours collecting the best soldiers you can, and someone comes in and takes them. It's really annoying. But then like it kind of then motivates you to go out again and get better soldiers.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Reading through the chat here as well, and Joshua Martin has said like microtransactions don't bother him, which I'm on the level with him. I don't use them, but people might want to.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to stop you sort of going. If there's nothing to stop someone going, okay, well, I've put in 7 hours. I've got some really good men. I don't want to play another 7 hours to get them. I'll insure them and pay a bit of money. Okay, there probably should be sort of maybe like an in-game currency version of it as well. If you're playing that long and you've got someone playing 20, 30 hours to save it. But yeah, it's sort of one of those, it's down to the user at that point. If they want to use them, they're available to use them. I mean, the majority of people probably won't, but it's always an option there.
Why would you invade someone's base? Like, is it just, do you just take their resources and then just go off and do that? Or like, what is it? Is it like, do you drop in and you kill everyone there and take stuff? Like, how does it work? Have you played through that yet at all?
I've played a bit of it. The multiplayer experience only came out Tuesday, I want to say. So I've only played a few games of it since it came out. But it's basically just like, imagine, from my opinion of it, it's sort of very similar to Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 experience of it. You can just sort of invade a world and have a fight with a person. It's kind of just a little bit extra to the game. It adds a bit more variety to what you can actually do with it.
Yeah. I think for that, it's going to be interesting to see. I think I have to play a fair bit more of it as well to see how it's going to sort of play out. And the other thing, so Assassin's Creed for the new one, they released Assassin's Creed Syndicate. They're going to have microtransactions so you can skip specific missions.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you pay to skip part of the game? I think.
I mean, I think it's again though down to the person. Some people might just literally want to listen to the story, and I suppose if you skip past it, you can just sort of view the story. I mean, I don't know why you'd pay 40, 50 quid for the game and then another probably 20 or so quid by the time you buy everything to skip everything just to view the story. It's effectively paying £60 to go and watch a film at that point in time.
That's where Let's Plays are good.
Yeah, true. But then I guess at the same time, it's like if the game forces you to have to do it, like I know some like free-to-play games, it's like okay, you can play as much as you want, but there's a point where no matter how good you are at the game, unless you pay them loads of money and buy the really decent equipment.
We lost Tom.
Oh.
We lost you for a second there, Tom. he's still gone.
Am I back now?
Yes, I think so.
Am I back? Cool. Yeah. I can't remember where. So yeah, I mean, if the game forces you to do it in order to play or be good at the game, I think it's really bad. If the game sort of drops them in there, it's like they're here. If you want them, take them. Give us some money. If you don't want them, play the game. Sold. You can have everything that's available. Then it's not too bad.
There's quite a few interesting comments popping up. I think Evil Al has said that you should probably have to pay $100 to play the last mission, which I think is absolutely brilliant. They should, if you want to make a bit of money, how wouldn't that work as well? Someone else has mentioned quite a good point actually. So obviously Tom, you're a big League of Legends player, and League of Legends runs on microtransactions. So do you think
they run on my wallet?
Yes, they run on my. I dare not think how much money I've given that company.
You can email them and find out.
I know. I can sort of suss out roughly how much it is, and it's a very scary amount over 4 years or whatever.
Oh dear.
But yeah. But sorry, what was the question, Tim? There.
So League of Legends does microtransactions. People don't seem too annoyed about it. What do you think? How do you think they do it differently or better compared to what some games are trying to do now? Because arguably you're an example of a game successfully integrating microtransactions and doing it well.
Actually paying them money doesn't affect how good or bad you are at the game. It gives you no advantage. It gives you no disadvantage, which I think sort of, if the people that play it often and stuff sort of want to give them money to add customization to their character more, because even down to buying runes within the game, which gives you little perks in certain things, you can only buy them with in-game currency.
Yep.
Although you can buy in-game currency boosts with real money, so there is that slight aspect, but it's so negligible. Like runes don't.
Yeah, it's
if you're good, you can
really
win
not
runes.
like you can have it, but it's not a massive up to it. I mean, I think it's like roughly if you earn 100 what is IP within the game, you probably get half that on top of it again if you have a bonus.
Yeah.
So you can get these runes a bit faster and stuff, but it's not like someone that's never played the game before can go in, put 50, 60, 70 pounds into the game and suddenly be as good as the professionals in it, as good as top tier players. They've still got to learn the game. They've still got to level up their characters and stuff, like level up their account and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's not a pay to win sort of scenario.
So I see Nilla says that's sort of is League of Legends free. League of Legends is free, isn't it? So
It's absolutely free.
Yeah, you can play the entire game. Like you could play it for years and not give them a penny if you want, and you can get the exact same experience as someone who's put thousands into the game. Yeah.
And I see. So Rob, do you play Hearthstone at all?
No, I do not.
Has anyone played Hearthstone yet? Probably. There's someone in the chat is saying that one of their friends has spent quite a significant amount playing that. Any of us here Hearthstone fans?
I've tried downloading it on the mobile, but it didn't work. So, yeah.
That's a depressing experience with it, I guess. Jack, no.
I've played some. I'm not really big into trading card games. Never really have been. I like because I think League of Legends gets lumped in with things like Hearthstone and RTSs. A lot of the time, people say that's the pace of the game, that's the level of enjoyment you get from the game.
Yeah.
But I'm personally not really into RTSs or collecting games or MOBAs in general. And I think League is particularly fast for a MOBA, and I think it's particularly responsive. Whereas Hearthstone, to me, there was too much concept to it, and which I know is true for League, but in Hearthstone, it's primarily conceptual. It's like building your deck and which decks are good against which other ones. And I think such a huge time investment when you're looking at as a new user, you look at Hearthstone and the culture, and you just think that's such a huge wall to climb over.
So
put me off.
So could you sort of explain Hearthstone? Just sort of give an overview, sort of what it is. So it's a card trading game.
Yes, card trading game. You pick classes, and these classes have particular moves and particular types of cards. And then you go through and you unlock cards and you put them into your decks, and you can have multiple decks. But if you watch pro players stream Hearthstone, you'll see they have whiteboards behind them, and they're planning decks as they play and changing their decks constantly. My friend plays Hearthstone. He's been playing it since launch. He has a deck which is on its 199th iteration, and he's like, oh, this isn't even my first deck, and it's very involved, very, very involved.
Okay. And so yeah, Hearthstone, it's made by Blizzard, isn't it? So Blizzard have always seem to do quite a good job of making, World of Warcraft, I agree, was probably the most successful game ever. When you have 15 million people paying about $10 a month for games, and even they, with Hearthstone, they've taken to microtransactions. I think it can be quite easy. We've got sirens coming for Rob.
Sorry, windows open. It's hot. There we go. They've gone. Nope.
No,
they've not. I'll just close that.
They're coming to arrest you for your horrific webcam stream, maybe.
No, they've gone.
I think, but yeah. So yeah, I think it comes down to the point of microtransactions. You can do it well, you can do it bad. There's definitely lots of types of games trying this now. The ones people tend to like are the ones you don't have to pay to win, obviously.
Yeah,
and
I think.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think as soon as you put the pay to win formula into it, so the only way to get the big guns, the only way to get the armor that absorbs 90% of the damage thrown at you, are the games where people get really annoyed with microtransactions.
Yep.
Because it's that point,
I can see his Mouth moving, but I can't hear anything.
Better?
There
There
you
we
go.
go.
You're back now.
My headset's playing up, which is a great thing to do on stream. um, yeah, it's then when like I could pick up a game that I've never played before, that I've literally gone on Steam and gone, I can put £200 into it, and I can be as good as someone who spent 6, 7 months, 2 years learning the game, learning how to play, and stuff like that. And I think that's when people get annoyed with microtransactions.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I have. I've picked up games, gone, oh, that looks quite interesting. And then someone's come along at like level 1, level 2, where it's like 2, 3 games in, and they've got this gun they've bought for £150 in real life, and an armor that cost them £100, and they're 20, 0, 20 on their like kill death ratios and stuff like that. And it's just like, well, that's just not fun anymore. There's people like that, and they've got such a power boost for paying so much money.
Yeah.
It just takes the entire fun out of the game
I've just
for
seen
people that don't want to.
No, it makes sense. I think I've just seen a couple of people mention War Thunder. Does anyone know what War Thunder is or play it?
Never heard of War
I
Thunder.
do
I've seen
know what
it.
War Thunder is, and
Okay.
I have played a fair bit of it.
What is War Thunder?
I haven't played it in a few months, but I think it's now got ground units in, if I remember as well. But when I was playing it, it was like basically a sort of World War II dogfight simulator. Is effectively the best way to describe it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you sort of have planes that were around. You sort of have a faction. You'd have planes that were around in that era. You fly them around. You sort of bomb targets and kill all the other planes and stuff like that. And they did have a model where you could pay money and stuff like that, and you could buy like the better ships and stuff. But they didn't, if I remember correctly, they didn't necessarily let you buy anything that you couldn't buy if you kept playing the game. I believe, I might be wrong in that, but I think everything that you could buy with the real money, you could buy with in-game money at the same time.
Yeah.
You just had to play it enough to get them. And yeah, I think if I remember correctly now, which looking at the chat seems to be right, they've added tanks to it now.
Oh,
Same sort of principle,
What's happening
obviously, with
again?
tanks.
yeah. So is it like World of Tanks then? Do you play World of Tanks?
I've not played World of Tanks, so I
I
couldn't
think World
tell
of
you,
Tanks
to
is
be
a bit
honest.
more. World of Tanks is very MMO-like. It is essentially an MMO with tanks, whereas I think War Thunder is a bit more like real-time, maybe, the combat. I haven't played it, but
Yeah, you kind of enter sort of a battle, so it treat it like sort of a Battlefield or Call of Duty multiplayer map. You sit in a queue, you go into a fight, whoever runs out of points first, it's over. You jump back out, you go back, you spend your points and upgrade your ships or buy new ships and stuff, then go back in, join the queue again,
That's all.
repeat. Yeah. But
I played a
World
lot
Tanks.
of Warframe, if anyone's played that, the free-to-play game.
Yeah.
Which game?
Warframe.
Warframe.
That was actually pretty good.
I thought it was really good, yeah.
This is me. Sorry about the camera thing. I'm gonna leave that. Yeah, it was a sci-fi third-person kind of action RPG mesh. It was just really fun.
And yeah, you had microtransactions in that, and it was interesting because you could pay money to be better than someone who'd spent like X amount of hours, but it's not a competitive setting. It's a co-op game primarily. I think there's PvP in it. I never tried that myself. I wasn't interested.
No.
But if you paid, I put it down. I think I played the game for like 10, 15 hours, and I was really enjoying it. And I threw down about 12 quid, and that got me a gun, a class, and another gun. So it didn't feel like much, but immediately like it comes with all this stuff. They're called formers. You load them in, reactor cores. You load them into your weapons, and it means you can equip more like power-ups for them. So I had the capability to be stronger than someone who hadn't paid money at my level, but I really enjoyed that because I've been playing it for ages. I couldn't get past these first levels. It's such a ridiculous grind curve. Like, it's huge. That's how they make their money. And I was okay with that, it skipped me into the mid-game levels, and I was experiencing combat, which before. You know, I had this one class with a dash and a stamp, the Excalibur, and then I unlocked the Valkyrie, which, you know, was kind of like a Wolverine psycho class, and you just go crazy with claws and, you know, fuck up enemies and just launch them about. And people said I just looked like a Pokeball going absolutely batshit.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And it was great. And, you know, to me, that was like, I gave them 12 quid because they've given me a quality game. They've given me some swag shit to fuck their engine up with. And I was really happy with it.
Yeah, I never actually even noticed the microtransactions because, like you, I never actually tried the PvP. So I didn't notice anyone using it against me, and all of the co-op stuff was just fairly well balanced with who it put me with. But I didn't struggle to get through any levels either. I just found it quite fun, very intuitive to play. I think I played what was like a sci-fi ninja of some sort. I had some sort of shuriken that I was throwing around, and a samurai sword. It was just fun for a little while. Things blew up when you killed them, and yeah. I didn't play it for an exceptionally long time, but it was a good game, well made.
It's good to see you back, Rob, as well.
It's nice, isn't it? Yeah.
The police have let you go, I think.
Yeah, they gave me the phone back.
So I think, so if we're going to go, so we've set about sort of a bit of time today to go over sort of our main thing today, which is we want to talk about esports. So as you may or may not know, there's currently the League of Legends World Tournament going on. It's going to be hosted, if I'm right, in London next week in a Wembley, and League of Legends in gaming is slowly making its way into the mainstream. The BBC in the UK are going to be streaming the League of Legends tournament live online, and I think for gaming, you know, it's a very big step, you know, towards being publicly accepted and doing things where, you know, people can actually, you know, become professional video game players. And I think, you know, it's a really interesting shift in culture at the moment to where gaming could come to the point where, you know, we're watching people play League of Legends, people playing StarCraft 2 next to watching the Olympics and something like that. So I think, you know, I think the first thing is what makes League of Legends particularly, you know, the type of game that everyone wants to play, that everyone gets involved with. And so the people in the chat today, sort of Tom and Jack, who both play quite a bit of League of Legends. So Tom, do you want to go over your sort of history a bit with it?
Yeah, I've been playing it since season 1, so what's that, 4 or 5 years ago now, shortly after it actually got launched. And it's just probably invested way too much of my life into that game over 5 years and university when I had a lot of spare time.
People are using CSGO as well, apparently. Is there
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, CSGO is another one of the big ones that is sort of taken over, and they've got big competitions for that as well. But yeah, I mean,
ex-gamer.
From a point of like what's making them big, I think it's because people are accepting the culture a lot more as well. Like I've watched the league tournaments and finals since I started playing, because I was always like, okay, I think I'm all right, and it's just like, oh no, I'm actually really bad. Just watch what everyone else is doing. And it sort of that's what got me into start watching it, is that I was sort of, I guess it's sort of like people with what is considered, well, like traditional sports, like stuff like your football and rugby. People enjoy playing it, and because they enjoy playing it, people enjoy watching it, sort of thing. Which is why I'm like with League, I really enjoy playing it, and just watching it, it's like, okay, these people are a billion times better than me, but they're sort of effectively doing what I enjoy doing.
So I think one of the key things to me is that I did have a go. I used to play Heroes of Newerth or Hon for a bit with some people, and I wasn't very good at it. And then I went into League of Legends, and I noticed that, you know, when you start, it you know, there is quite a bit of criticism there from people. It's not always, you know, I wouldn't say it's the friendliest community to get into. There's
no. I'll give you that. Starting down at sort of lower level accounts is a very toxic environment. A very, very toxic environment, I would say. It's full of a lot of people that, in their mind, are these professional players, but can't necessarily get out of a very low level stuff. and instead of sitting there going, okay, where am I going wrong? How can I improve what I'm doing? Blah, blah, blah. We'll just sit and blame everyone else on the team. And I think it does put a lot of people off nowadays with the age of the game being, 5 years now, 6 years, if you include beta. People that play it off and they've gone sort of not past the point, because you get these people everywhere, but gone past the point of that big clump of it all in one go.
Yeah.
Where anyone that's now like, oh, I've seen that, okay, let's give it a go, sort of just gets presented with this entire clump of toxicity and sort of goes, no, we'll leave that. And you do kind of have to just fight through that and get past it and keep playing and mute people. Just mute people. Ignore everyone and mute them.
/ mute all is your friend.
Yeah, it really is.
How was you when you started playing League of Legends, Jack? Do you remember when you first started? And was it always like this toxic and always full of people like this, or did it start off a bit more friendlier and then just get worse as it got older?
I think a lot of it comes down to how you are as well, because I think what a lot of people don't admit is that they're toxic as well, because I think the kind of game it is, everyone has a bad day and shouts at their teammates. I have not played with one person who's just like, oh hey, it's all bubbles and kisses, let's just be friends.
Yeah.
And the ones I have, they've been just that. Like, they've obviously been on some very serious herb because they have not cared about anything. But the thing is, yes, it can be very negative, it can be very toxic, it can be very frustrating, but then that makes the highs be as equally high as they are low. So when you win, when you crush your enemies on the other team, or when they're typing in chat saying, oh, this guy's an arsehole, no, you're crap, no, it's your fault, and you're sitting there, you feel that, and it's like a very primal thing. It's like when people compete in sports, it's the same attitude. You know, you watch people play basketball, when they like dunk on each other, they will shout in each other's faces, and you know, it comes down to like what I think like all man wants is conflict, and I think League is just simulated conflict, and yeah, it can be incredible, it can be awful, but there is no other game like it, or the MOBA scene in the way it can be so rewarding. Like, I've never played a game when I come away from a 1.5 hour League game, which is super long for League games. Their average is 30 to 40, 50 minutes, depending on where in the leagues you are. And when you've been in an hour and a half and you've been trying your hardest to win, and you're tense, and you finally win, you could go out and just take over the world with that feeling. Like, I go out into the garden and shout at my neighbours that they suck and I'm amazing.
Get out my lane.
It is a very great feeling when you do have this hour-long game and you're just there like tense as hell.
You make that play, you get that sweet little stun that leads to a team fight, and
you're like, I've done it. It is my moment, and then you can win off it. It is a very happy moment. It does sort of negate the negative sides to it once you start getting those games.
You're definitely describing any type of addiction that I know as well.
Yeah.
It's an addiction. There's no way getting around that.
But, you know, it feels really good as well.
We've got Alcohol Anonymous. We've got all these, and soon we're going to have League of Legends Anonymous. Okay.
Someone's just asked how much we game.
Far too much. I game every time my eyes are open and I'm not being asked to do things.
Well, it may have been asking that's a general chat, but there we go.
Mine's pretty much go to work, come home, play games until I go to bed.
I think because we work with games and stuff now, I've sort of managed, you know, when I get home and try stuff, it's almost like research now. So I can play something and then we can come in the next day, and when we have like a meeting, it'd be like, oh, I was playing this the other night and we can do this, and we could try this. And for me, I think I did go off games for a bit, but now, you know, I still do play a lot. I still do play a lot for fun as well. Like, I do enjoy a lot of new games, to be honest. You know, I do love just like all the AAA classic stuff now. It's just really easy to get into. I don't like a steep learning curve. Stuff like MOBAs, like Dota, for me, it's just like, you know, I want to learn, I want to try. Like CSGO, multiplayer games just frighten me a bit, because it's like, I don't mind like MMOs and stuff and like competing, but I think I'm sort of one of those like horrible typical consumers where I don't want to learn much. I want everything to be like spoon-fed to me. Like the new Tomb Raider game, it's pretty good. Like, just like Uncharted, I think, which should be interesting.
But
But yeah, I guess we all do play quite a few games. And going back to League of Legends, then I guess a bit, because there's obviously the World tournaments going on. So what are they? What is that? And I guess there's quite a big prize to win as well.
Yeah, so I mean, what's going on at the moment is sort of their end of season big finale stuff. So throughout the year, there's a couple of competitions, and each region's sort of broken up into what would be the best teams in those regions. They're all effectively fighting for a place at the World Championship, and there's different amount of places slots are assigned to different regions. So I think like North America and Europe have 3 slots, and Korea I think have 3 slots. And then there's 2 wildcards, and it might be 2 or 3 Chinese teams. I can't remember. I think there's a couple of others as well. But they're basically all throughout the regular sort of season fighting for places within this. And I think like top place at the moment is like $1 million or something like that for winning team. So you've got obviously the 5 players, subs, and the coaching and management teams and stuff. But $1 million prize pool is still a fair bit of money.
How does it work? Because I know there's a lot of League of Legends teams playing. Do they tend to get sponsored? Do they earn quite a lot of money? Is it like, would you compare it to like a Premiership footballer now, or like a top level athlete?
It's not at that level, but I mean, I can't remember.
The players themselves, I think, are actually often taken advantage of. I think it's a problem with sports. You know, you see it in every sports. The owners want as much money because they've put money in, which is fair enough. You know, it makes sense. But at the same time, what about the argument that the talent? You know, without the talent, there is no team. You know, and for instance, Faker, he is considered the best player in the world. He's a celebrity icon. If you play League of Legends, you know who Faker is. You want to beat him. You want to be able to play like him. But you don't see much of their lifestyle, and what you see, it doesn't seem extravagant. They don't seem to have loads of money, and they don't seem to be splashing it out and going crazy. And I think, you know, the kind of environment it is, it's a lot more about earning the respect. Like, the culture is very personality driven.
Yeah, I think also. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's also because it's not, although it's slowly beginning to be accepted as mainstream, it's not quite there yet as well. Because like, you think like football, like your professional footballers, like I can't watch football, like Rooney and whoever else plays football. Wow, I'm really bad at football.
Beckham.
Millions, and there were £1 million contracts a week at this point, which is ridiculous amount of money. I think last year they released some of like the League of Legends player salaries, and about only 3 of like the top 50 had just broken 6 figures. So I mean, they've broken 6 figures, which I mean is fair play for anyone really.
Yeah.
But most of them are on. I think like the average was around $65,000 to about $70,000, $80,000.
And how much playing, or how long do you have to play to get good at a game like League of Legends to play in like these like multi-million pound or dollar tournaments?
The people that play it play 16 to 20 hours a day. Most of them have what's called gaming houses, so all 5 of the players plus probably like the coach and that live in the same house. They all eat together, they play, and they basically spend every waking minute with each other.
Yeah.
Playing this game and analysing the game and learning new tactics and all sort of stuff like that.
So I've seen a couple people in the chat as well mentioning about the sponsors. So we've got Intel, AMD, Nvidia. Yeah. So I guess all the main PC people get involved.
Yeah, they've got a lot of sponsors, but then I guess it's sort of the same thing with sports. Like in sports, you get all like Adidas and Nike and all stuff like that sponsoring your football team, sponsoring your rugby teams, your basketball teams. It's a very similar thing with esports. I mean, not just in League, in CS:GO and Hearthstone tournaments and Dota 2 tournaments. All the teams are sponsored by like Razer, Intel, AMD, Roccat, stuff like that. And some of these even have their own actual teams. So like Roccat is I Buy Power, that sort of line, I believe. Okay. They own their own League of Legends team. They own their own CS:GO team. They own their own Dota 2 team, and they get to these tournaments and stuff like that, but it's all publicity from their point for sponsorships.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's sometimes right out. I think last season, only from League of Legends, I know is that one of the teams called Curse Gaming got a sponsorship through Nissan.
To Nissan.
So Nissan, yeah. So Nissan sponsored Curse Gaming and was one of their top sponsors for. I don't know if they still are, because Curse has sort of renamed itself now. But yeah, Nissan was one of their sponsors 2 years ago. So bigger companies that are outside of the gaming industry are starting to sort of see there is market there. There is people to view it there, and it is worth the income, the expenditure even.
So just to answer some of the questions to Venus, if someone's asked, how do you get a sponsor if you're getting so what I do for our indie developers, so I work doing our business development stuff. So I go, if we're going to make a game, are we going to release it with NVIDIA, with AMD, with whoever, and how will that work? If there are any partners we can do with stuff to reduce costs or things like that. So with a lot of these companies, they have relations guys. They probably have League of Legends relation guys, I imagine, people who manage the sponsorship stuff, and they then go down and meet up with them. You can contact them, you can get in touch with them. I think you can probably almost approach any company asking for sponsorship and seeing how it goes. And yeah, that's sort of generally how it works. So I think I see you missing Jack as well at the moment. He's disappeared for a sec.
Yeah. just left me on my own to talk about League here now.
League, yeah. You maybe outdone him too much. Well, so Rob, you don't play. You don't play any League, any MOBAs, anything?
I don't play MOBAs, no.
Why?
It's insanity, really, isn't it? Just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Back to Far Cry 3 there, sorry. But no, I just find them really dull and repetitive. Same map, same set of characters, same goal. It's the same reason I don't really play any multiplayer games that much, shoot 'em ups or anything like that, just because you're always just going for the same task. I prefer having something you can build up and sort of keep, so leveling a character, going through a story, actually sort of finding different levels of accomplishment in that area. But I can see why people like them. I can kind of see the appeal behind them, but I've just never personally found them interesting.
I think looking at the chat room, everyone did like the vast quote there. Far Cry.
Just seemed topical.
So where's e-gaming heading? So no, we got companies like countries, even like South Korea, where there's like training camps and people go to play all the time. And there's countries like China at the moment where arguably like video game addiction is becoming maybe a problem. So I mean, from your perspective, Jack, as in a global sense, where is sort of e-gaming going towards, and are there any negative implications of it getting mainstream, or as much as arguably sports like football, rugby, things that require physical exercise, maybe improve your health, have some benefits, but people could say that this type of sport is is maybe harmful. Sort of, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's kind of where esports is going to be based is a hard question to answer, because while you have, yes, it's true, all the talent comes from Korea and the LCK. You see a lot of the best teams are Korean. SKT every year do incredibly well. And it's kind of this East versus the West. North America and Europe are considered, not quite as good. And in Worlds so far, that has honestly been the case, with the exception of C9. Western teams are getting smashed, but all the franchises and the fans are in the West. TSM have the biggest following online. You go anywhere, every time League is in America, for instance, you hear it. You can just hear chants of TSM, and they're not the only North American team, but they are by far the biggest. And you look at, I follow basketball, for instance, and the biggest teams that everyone knows, like the Lakers, the Celtics, the Knicks. These are the teams that people can name off the top of their head without following the sport. They're all really crap at the moment, like, quite frankly. They're like, their last season, the Knicks had one of their worst seasons in franchise history, but people still go to New York games constantly every day. Even during the season, they'd go see Knicks games. So there you can say, well, the NBA is centered in New York, even though the best team that year was in California. And so I think what we're going to see is a lot more talent being brought from the East into the West. You already see it, Chinese and Korean players on Western teams. And it's going to be more about who's got the money and the ability to move people into their teams. I think it's quite worrying in a way. I think esports is growing so quickly, and I think there's no regulation on its growth. There's no one looking out for like players' interests. There's no one making sure that everything's being done in like a positive way. And emulating sports is interesting because you get all these followers, but then there's a lot of negativity in sport, a lot of like difficulty in the cultures and stuff, and the way people behave. If someone supports a team, they see someone who supports a different team, then they fight, even though that seems completely arbitrary. I think that with esports, like, I just think as more and more people get interested in it, they should also be looking at like how it's growing and what we want esports to say, because I think that gamers don't have a voice, and this is a chance for gamers to get together and say, this is how we handle ourselves, this is who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's because there's not a sort of where it is not quite accepted. Sort of everyone's off doing their own things. Like your CS:GO leagues and stuff are sort of controlling their stuff. Riot is controlling League of Legends. Blizzard is controlling Dota. There's not sort of this central looking after your players, looking after your team. I mean, it has gotten better, I'd say, if you look sort of back a couple of seasons.
Definitely.
And players were playing for 9 months and then were retiring because they've just been completely burnt out over 9 months. I think it's gotten better now, but yeah, it's still, I think the biggest problem there is there's not a sort of, where it's not accepted, people are, like you said, are looking out for players.
We need a FIFA of e-gaming.
You do. You genuinely do. I think there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no regulatory board for all of esports.
No, I was going to say I don't think there is one. I'm pretty sure within sport there's like obviously FIFA's in charge of football and stuff, but there is a over governing body that sort of sets health and safety standards and all stuff like that. I believe I might be wrong with that. But yeah, there's nothing like that within esports. It's a lot of what happens in esports is controlled by the creator of the game. So Riot, Blizzard, Valve for CS:GO and stuff like that.
I see in the chat people are quite mentioning Dota as well as in the prizes. So would you say League of Legends is the biggest MOBA and sort of esport at the moment, or are there others that we're sort of missing maybe?
I think Dota's another very popular one. They both have huge followings behind them. They don't, but unfortunately, they both don't tend to. Even though it's very similar game, the audience of one don't seem to cross over into the audience of another.
Yeah.
But they are both huge games, to be honest. Both of them have massive prize pools and their big competitions. I think Dota's competition, like their big world final things, happened a couple of months back.
Yeah.
If I remember. Yeah, I think they happened a couple of months back, and a team called I think it was Evil Geniuses won it, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong there. Someone will probably correct me. But yeah, they had a massive prize pool and a massive viewer base as well. And these events are selling out stadiums effectively.
Yeah.
I think last year they had. I know from League last year they had the Korean Olympic Stadium for their final, which they managed to sell out, which is, yeah.
I think it was a Staples Centres for season 3 as well, and season 3 was League's become much more of a phenomenon since then, and even then they're selling out the Staples Centre that the Lakers play in.
Yeah, I mean I got tickets to go watch in Wembley next week. And they sold out in 15-20 minutes, so they've managed to sell out Wembley Arena in less than half an hour. Wow. I mean, people want to see this. It's not this niche market anymore that people are just like, oh, we'll go sort of see what it's about, and then not tell anyone I'm viewing it. It's slowly becoming more and more accepted. People are wanting these events, and obviously with BBC now, the BBC doing their own League of Legends stream. next weekend covering all 4 days of the Wembley games, sort of shows it's getting a bit more to mass market.
Yeah.
That it's going to be on. It's not just we've got to go on Twitch or the YouTube streaming stuff and view it on there and stuff. It's now being broadcast on TV, on an actual TV channel for people to watch.
So one thing as well, I think, because so for you, Jack, arguably at the moment, the world's most popular games, especially in the West, are things like FIFA, Call of Duty, potentially. Why is it that these MOBA games and these sort of like League of Legends, Dota, are the ones getting the big prizes and the big tournaments, are the ones getting the most publicity and audiences, sort of as opposed to those kind of games now? Or am I wrong? Or is there a massive Call of Duty prize fund, FIFA prize fund every year?
All the games now are pushing their esports. They have been for a few years. If you go back, you look at Firefall was an MMO that launched, and that was piggybacking the esports thing, but too early. It didn't do as well as it was supposed to. But I think that with League and Dota in particular, and CS:GO, it works in the format of watching it and people wanting to watch it, because there's no difference. When you play Call of Duty, when you first get loaded into that map, no matter how good you are, you don't know the lines that people travel through, where people are spawning, where people are going to be sitting and shooting you from. Whereas you play the game, you get used to, I need to check that window, I need to shoot that bridge, there's always grenades coming from there. Whereas in League, Dota, and CS:GO, it's one map. In CS:GO, obviously there's multiple, but they use that one in particular. It's like a football pitch. It doesn't change. What changes is the people and these moments of like playmaking. In any sport you have that visual excitement, and in these games, people play them and they do these cool things, and then you watch the people who are the best in the world. And when I team fight, I'm in Silver 2. If anyone plays League of Legends, so I'm with the riffraff. I'm just one of the the plebs playing League.
Sorry about that, guys.
And I think that where I am, you see team fights lasting for quite a while. Often people initiate, attack, back off, go back in, not sure. Oh, am I dying? No, I'm not. Whereas you watch the professional games, and these team fights will usually happen in less than 5 seconds. And you can see people doing these things that you're trying to do perfectly.
Yeah.
And because the game has such a high skill cap and such a long learning curve, you have that desire to watch them and see what they're doing. Whereas other games where it's a bit more, you do what you want, you play how you want, you only watch other people if they're entertaining in particular.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, sorry, I missed part of that. My Chrome ended up crashing, and I got it in the chat. But yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I can see. It definitely makes sense why sort of everything's getting, especially with things like FIFA and Call of Duty, the skill levels in there, the teamwork things aren't there. So I can sort of understand, I think, why we're seeing a growth in those areas as opposed to that.
Well, with League, I just want to say as well, it's interesting that the BBC have picked it up. And they are streaming it, but what I think is interesting to note is that they're streaming it. It's not going on their radio. It's not going on their TV channel. So, because that confused me when I first heard that, because I thought, well, surely only people who already play League of Legends are going to know about the stream and watch it if it's not just coming through a TV or a radio. So it's kind of like there's the mainstream acceptance in that the BBC are involved at all, but then also that it's still gaming and it still gets relegated to the internet, just where people on their computers can watch. You don't want to make normal people have to watch it.
Yeah.
And I think it's this kind of hangover mentality that gaming is segregated from normal life. Like if you're a gamer, you're supposedly not sociable. You're supposedly not cool. You're whatever. You're supposedly a virgin forever. And I just don't think that's true anymore. I think normal people play games now.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a huge part of the growth. But I think it's interesting to see that people are still reluctant to let it grow.
No, yeah, it's interesting. It makes sense, I think. But yeah, so yeah, thanks guys. I think esports, is a growing thing. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. And obviously, I think Jack and Tom, you will have fun next week watching the tournament, and it'll be really.
I'll be drunk as hell.
It'll be interesting to see how you find it and what the crowd's like. What kind of people go to watch a league?
I was going to say, it's the first time I'm going to go see it live, so it'd be interesting to see how it differs, being in the arena with it all happening compared to watching it on Twitch or
Yeah.
YouTube or whatever.
Cool.
So I mean, yeah.
Good luck. I'm sure you'll have fun. I'm sure you'll be able to tell us about it as well next week after you go. So I think a couple of people in the chat have asked if they can do some questions with us, and they want to hear back. I do want to remind everyone now that so we are giving away a completely free version of Prison Architect, which has just been launched this week. And for that, if you want to tweet what you think the name of the podcast should be with the hashtag GameDebateLive, we have had to change the hashtag because GD Live was already taken. But yeah, Game Debate Live. Later, we'll have a look in about 10 minutes or so. So if you put it now, we'll probably read it through. And yeah, so you had some questions for us.
I've written them down if that helps.
You've written them down, okay.
Yeah.
So
the first one I noticed was, where has split screen co-op gone? Which I don't know if it's gone anywhere. But it just takes us back to what we were talking about earlier, that you might need to start looking at indie games, because there's so many indie games at the moment, and over the recent years, which heavily aim and support split screen and local co-op, online co-op, and just loads of multiplayer features. So,
I mean, from my point, I think it's still there. I think a lot of games still have it, but the internet is now just the internet's there now. It's not like 7 or 8 years ago when co-op, like the split screen was huge because people didn't have this fast internet. They couldn't sit and talk to their friends and play these games online with their friends. They had to all come round and have like a mate come round and do split screen or something like that. I think nowadays it's just from the convenience point of view, people are very much, I can sit at home, sit on the headset with my friends and get the same experience, but with a full screen rather than a split screen on it.
I think I remember when I played Resident Evil 5, was it, with my friends? And the split screen cut off half the screen, so you only see like a tiny screen at the bottom and a tiny screen at the top, and it was just like, it ruined the game. You had it on like a 42-inch TV, I think, and it's still just, you're playing on like almost smaller than a laptop screen size, and it just doesn't work with a lot of it.
I suppose the other thing is that split screen is one thing, but local co-op can still be really good in games like Risk of Rain, where you can just play with the whole screen. Yeah, it's just brilliant.
I mean, that game, I played co-op, good couch co-op, and my friends, they've all come over. They've all since bought it, actually, because it was, I mean, online, it's funny because, it's got couch co-op, but it's actually really hard to play online with other people.
Yes.
It's where I say hard, it takes a little bit of doing, but it is doable. But it's, it reminded me how much more fun it is playing with your friends when they're over. I feel like an atmosphere develops there. You sort of, you get a bit more rowdy, and you can actually see each other's screens. You can actually sort of nudge each other when they're dragging the whole team down, because I promise you, it's never me.
Yeah.
And I think Risk of Rain is like an excellent example of that. Like, I mean, great game.
My friend Andrew Ashton in the chat just mentioned Nidhogg as well, which was an epic
That's so great.
Local co-op.
Playing that drunk is awful.
I think he's making a split-screen co-op game at the moment, so you have to watch out for what he's making.
I think
quite fun.
another one question is popping up is a lot about sort of the system requirements. So I know we mentioned before about the system requirements of Battlefront and Fallout 4 are getting quite ridiculous, and it's with 16 gig of RAM for recommended, that is absolutely obscene. I mean, knowing some game developers, I think most games don't even really fully optimize 8 gig of RAM. So why would you put 16 gig of RAM there? I think why, and with companies like Intel, so Star Wars is requiring as a minimum recommended spec is asking for a completely new chip that's only come out this year. I mean, why? I mean, do you think it's the industry pushing it? I guess it's really good for Tom. What do you think is driving all these really high requirements? Is it the fact that PC ports are going to be so bad or they can't do it? What do you think their reasoning is?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I mean, I guess a lot of it's to do with a lot of like the AAA companies and stuff are pushing the boundaries of what they can get away with on graphics-wise and optimization-wise. And sometimes, I guess, it's a lot to do with it's easier not to optimize something than it is to optimize something. It's very easy to throw something together that works quickly and then take the time to optimize afterwards, then optimize it and then go for it. So I think my webcam's got really dark, I've just realized. So yeah, I think a lot of it's to do with, some of it's to do with a bit of, not necessarily laziness, but just where companies are trying to get these games out quicker, there's not as much time available to optimize them.
Yeah. And I guess the same question to Jack. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know the industry. I don't work in it. But the feeling I've always gotten is that, you know, there's two companies, there's Nvidia and there's ATI, and like they or AMD, and they run like the market. And whenever they want to push out a new graphics card or a new, you know, more RAM, or whoever's pulling the strings, you know, they have so much money, sure, and it seems like they must have this symbiotic relationship with games developers, where they go to them and they go, oh, well, if your game's coming out, you know, have our little logo at the start, and then, you know, say it needs this card, and we'll give you money to help with the development or whatever. Because, I mean, a lot of the times I look at these minimum specs, these recommended specs, and I think, oh, my computer's not actually good enough to run this game. I go into the game, I put everything on ultra, and then with, like, you know, maybe shadows down a little bit, I'm usually fine. And just it honestly to me feels like a scam.
Yeah.
So I will give you the amount of times that things are like recommended specs, but you don't quite meet them. But you know, you just tweak the graphics ever so slightly from ultra down a tiny bit or low, like Jack said, the shadows or something. You can get away with running it. It's just
And I think if you want to post that to the chat room as well, so do you tend to find that when you have games recommended in minimum specs, that if you are just below them, that doesn't really impact your playing at all? Are companies just bumping up these specs to get people to buy more hardware, and really at the moment, you know, there maybe isn't a need to? You know, it's interesting with computing as it gets more powerful. You know, I think it's Moore's law, where computers get double as powerful every year. And you know, are games getting double as complicated? They're getting double as big every year. You know, probably not. Are we going to reach a point, you know, soon where, you know, we actually won't need to get that much hardware? You know, will computers be powerful enough? For me personally, so I think hardware is very going to go the way of cloud computing, sort of the way electricity did. So when factories started 8 years ago, you used to have, you know, everyone would have their own generator. They'd all generate their own electricity. And you know, one day someone thought it'd be more efficient to have a national grid and distribute everything across. And I think we're going to get to the point where the games are going to be housed in just massive server data centers. Like, once the internet's quick enough and we can just stream it, why would you want? And you can farm, you know, hundreds of machines on one, you know, really complex server. Why would you? I think we're going to come to the point where we're not actually going to have any physical hardware at all, and everything's going to run on that, and that, you know, could potentially be a killer for the hardware industry in the consumer sense. You know, we're probably years away from that. I think once the internet does get that good enough, I think that's what we are going to go towards eventually. But that is a very, like, big picture, long view. If anyone has any thoughts on that.
I mean, well, there's also this point that was just made in chat. Devs can't test in every config very easily. There's hundreds of different graphics cards out there. There's hundreds of different processors, hundreds of different motherboards. There's no way a dev company can sit there and test everything, and every combination. It would take years to even get a game remotely out there, because so much of it would be testing on configs. I reckon a lot of it's down to
it's a safeguard. It's like if someone's running it on if they gave lower specs and somebody ran it on that, and they had the 8 gig and they had that video card and they had that motherboard and processor, but it still only ran at 30 frames per second, then that company's going to start getting complaints saying that I'm running your recommended requirements. Why is it not running properly? Whereas if they go, right, double everything, and then it sort of narrows the gap of people which are going to be able to complain, because the people that then don't have more spec than actually required for the game won't be complaining immediately, as you'd kind of expect from consumers nowadays, unfortunately.
So Rob and Tom, you develop games. So Tom, I know we're sort of we're developing a PC game at the moment, which is going to be coming out next year. What approach, with the infinite complexity of all these different configurations and graphics cards, what approach do you take to fixing and getting making sure everything runs as smooth as possible and as many configurations as possible?
The easiest way is to just try and optimize everything. If you keep things optimized, I mean, no matter, like I said earlier, it's really hard and it's really easy to sit there and just bung something in that works and ignore it. Is to optimize things. The more you optimize it, the more systems you'll be able to run it on. But it does come down to sort of getting a selection of different PCs or different devices and stuff like that, and sort of just benchmarking it across it. Just sort of going, okay, here's a massively high spec computer, here's one that we've brought for a couple of £100, and sort of testing on how it performs at each of them, picking a good midpoint to go, okay, at this point here we're able to run at 60 FPS, we're able to not have any problems. And then sort of, like Rob was saying, I guess some developers then sort of then bump that up ever so slightly as well to give it sort of a error margin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of it is just because there's no way you can test everything. You just get a selection within a price range.
It's just
and
not,
see how
it's not realistic.
So what are your thoughts, Rob?
Same sort of thing. I mean, especially, I suppose it's easier on smaller games that the optimization that you need to focus on is pretty minor. A lot of the time on smaller games it can be a waste of time, I think, to focus on optimizing to begin with, because that can take more time. And like Tom said, the amount of time it takes to prototype something and just get it working in comparison to the amount of time it would then take to actually optimize that as well. It may not always be needed. So, but I suppose the thing you'd want to do is just, especially for indie developers, it seems to be getting the alphas out there, or early access sort of schemes and stuff, so you can get a lot of feedback really early, so you know almost for free where all of the problems are to begin with. It doesn't really cost the developer that much that way. So but that may not really be something that AAAs will do, because I think they're going to have a lot more that they need to focus on.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think another one of the really good questions that came up before was, do we think that the unified memory architecture in the PS4 and Xbox One is actually hurting optimization for PC games? Now, I know there has been a few years where I think particularly when Watch Dogs came out, people were saying how are games limiting their graphics on PC because they look better on, so limiting their graphics, for PC games, because if they increase them, do they look better than console? Are Sony and Microsoft and people who want console exclusives or console first games trying to put people off putting out full quality games on PC? I think the best thing about Watch Dogs when you saw at E3 and they had all the smoke effects. Typically behavior, those kind of things, you do get people and companies where they will just pump out the best really good looking things. And I think most people know as well, when you're running those type of games and the high end things to show off how good they are, typically they aren't running on an Xbox or a console or a console at all, they're running on a PC. So I guess to Jack, really, do you think the current sort of PlayStation console development is hurting PC gaming at all?
I really do, honestly. I used to be a console player, simply just affordability. That was the idea of it, wasn't it? 200 to 300 quid, 300 quid, new or plus new, but you'd get that. That would last you 5 years. That was the cycle. You had 5 years, and then 5 years later, something else would come out that was a direct, massive upgrade to that. And then with the Wii, that whole console life cycle has just been shattered. So I moved to PC gaming then, and then I discovered games are cheaper on the PC. I can get them downloaded straight to my computer. I have a cloud for my games. I can get games for a pittance through sales, and not completely legally. I have got over 400 Steam games, for probably half the price I would have spent normally. And I was really angry at Watch Dogs. I love sci-fi, I love sandbox, and I was like, cool, sci-fi sandbox story, perfect for me. And it just looked nothing like it did in that E3 video. It played so badly as well. It ran as if it was, the new Crisis. And I think, when you look at PC gaming and you see, you can spend, what would you guys reckon? If you could spend 500 quid and you could run most things on medium to high these days.
Yeah.
That's barely more than a modern console. And so you're going to save at least 10 quid per game. And it looks better on the PC, it runs better, the PC's more powerful, the internet's more accessible. And I reckon that the console developers and owners, they must, do these like business deals where they say, make your game not run as well on PC. Because if people saw their Call of Duty on the PC looking like a completely different game, which it does half the time anyway, why would they get an Xbox? Why, if Halo was on the PC and it looked just as good, why would you get a PC? But they don't do that. They need to keep like a market for the consoles.
That could kind of be part of the case, but I mean, working within a game development company, the artists here, they don't create sort of textures or models or things to a console spec. They create it at 4K plus or at the highest resolution they can, and then they lower that as we're adding it into the game and developing it and working with that. So it's not as though developers are making it for the PS4 and going, right, that's the most the PS4 can go, so we won't develop anything higher quality. It probably starts at a much higher quality and then gets lowered. But I think what we've seen recently, like with the new Batman game, is that it's not even the developers who made the game that are putting it on PC. They're being handed out to what apparently are really bad developers to then port that game over to the PC. So it seems to be the companies porting it across or being given the product afterwards, which are maybe causing the problems as well. I don't know if that's something to consider.
To go off what you said there, Rob, I think it's down to the porting of it. I mean, from a point of, if a game is designed for PC and then ported over to the Xbox or the PlayStation, the PC version tends to look a lot better because it's started off as a development for the PC and then sort of been downgraded, which is a lot less work than upgrading it to a full PC spec afterwards. So if a game started as a Xbox or PlayStation game and then the developer's gone, and we release it on PC as well, it tends to be true. They don't want to redo all the assets, they don't want to redo all the artwork. They bump them up slightly, but they sort of use the same thing. Whereas if it's vice versa, they've got all these high quality assets and all these high quality textures, and they're just lowering the resolution of it, which from a designer point of view is a lot easier to do than upping the resolution of them effectively.
Go on, sorry, Rob.
I was going to say there's two other questions which we could get through really quickly in case this one lingers. Someone wants to know Jack's poster. What is it?
My poster, it's actually a Pablo Picasso painting.
Okay, cool. There you go.
Close of a clown.
There you go. And then somebody else asked why the Steam isn't working, and I don't think we know.
And just before we finish then, if there is anyone else that doesn't want to have a go in the hashtag Game Debate Live, I'm going to say now there's a strong chance that you could win the game Prison Architect. So if you want to have a go, you've got 5 minutes. In about 4 minutes time, we will check. And as I said, just say it again one more time, just tweet hashtag Game Debate Live and what you think this podcast should be called. And do that and we'll have a go back. I mean, in the meantime, just let you guys know that I think there is a bit of a delay between the chat and what we're seeing and what you're seeing as well, so we are trying to keep up with it. So we'll just have a quick look if there are any more questions you guys want to ask. And because there's a lag, obviously it's going to take a couple of minutes before you actually hear me say that and we get it back.
At which time we finished.
But yeah, how do you think our podcast went today? Do you think we did all right? Yeah, Josh, that's right. Hashtag Game Debate Live. Go on then. And as well, next week we have a couple of games to give away. So yeah, do join us again. Oh, I spelled that wrong. I'm sabotaging our own competition.
Yeah. Grand Designs are quite confused at the moment.
I saw that, yeah.
Are they just like, what the hell is going on here now?
We have a podcast?
Yeah, Grand Designs. Yeah, I did check the. I mean, we should have probably checked it before we did put it out there.
It's more fun just to go through it and hope for the best.
And thanks a lot for everyone. Thanks a lot for Felix and for everyone who sort of stayed with us throughout this. I mean, this is our first ever attempt at a podcast, and as time goes on, I think we will get better. And yeah, I think we'll just keep going with it. Really. How do you think we did, Jack? Do you think we did all right?
I think we nailed it. I think that's genuinely the best live shit I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, if I was watching, I don't think I'd ever want to miss an episode ever. And,
I think I just watched this episode over and over again. I think we've just created perfection, honestly.
Put it on loop when you get home.
And just to let you guys know that if you do want to watch this, my hair. If you do want to watch this again, we are going to be uploading the podcast to iTunes as well, so you can download that. And we'll also be putting on our sort of like key moments and sort of the best bits on YouTube as well as separate videos. So feel free to share them. We will be about on Game Debate a lot more. So I know Rob, Tom, and Jack, you all have Game Debate accounts now. We are, I was part of it for a while, but we are honestly fairly new to it all. We're just sort of getting involved with it, and I think I'm really looking forward to getting more involved with the community and just making more stuff and making more videos, and hopefully I think we'll get some some good podcasts done. We'll get some good sort of things we can do together as well, which would be quite cool. And so what's the time now? Should we check the Twitter feed and see if there's been any more posts?
I think so.
Oh. What is everyone seeing? Rob, what are your thoughts?
On the cast overall?
On the tweets?
On the tweets, there's the two of them.
Is that three?
Oh, three, sorry, yeah.
I think I like Joshua Martin's one where it's just the hashtag.
Yeah, no, I think we should go with that.
And we could.
Well,
so yeah,
we should check GD Live as well and see if there's some good ones there.
If you want to pick 3 GD Live, Rob, you can go ahead.
We get some lovely grand design titles in it. Be perfect.
There you go. We've got one called Weekly Gaming Nibbles from GD Live.
It sounds kind of sexual. I like it.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Weekly Gaming Nibbles.
Weekly Gaming Nibbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work, couldn't it? I guess, now I don't know if people would feel cheated if we go with something that wasn't tweeted on the changed competition name. But I'll tell you what we do though. If so should we go with Weekly Nibbles for this week's name of the podcast?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I like it.
That's settled then. And I think maybe next time people are asking to show them how to find a hashtag and how to tweet it, so we could maybe include a bit of a tutorial maybe and show people what to do. But no, yeah, thanks to everyone who took part. So who was that winner, Rob?
That was actually Andrew Ashton again. So
Andrew
mentioned
Ashton.
Twice in one episode.
He's very popular now.
Andrew, you have won a copy of Prison Architect.
There we go.
If you want to follow Game Debate on Twitter and send a direct message there, and what we'll do is we'll send that straight through to your Game Debate account. So if you want to send through that, follow Game Debate on Twitter, just direct message them, we should follow you back right away, and we'll get that out to you next week. And thanks to everyone again who came today. Thanks for watching the podcast. We will be back next week from 4 till 6 with sort of another round of stories. And in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, feel free to get on Game Debate. We'll set up a post after the podcast where we'll have a little comment section, and you can chat. Let us know what you think. Let us know what we can improve upon and what we can talk about more. And goodbye from me, and we'll probably speak to you again next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Cool.